First contact fallout. The observation post on the edge of the Cygnus arm erupted with frantic activity as alarms blared through its crystalline corridors. Senior observer Vexic's membranous wings fluttered anxiously as his compound eyes processed the data streaming across holographic displays. "Confirm signature," he commanded, his translator rendering his clicks and chirps into standard galactic common. The station's AI responded with cold precision. "Signature confirmed. Human warship detected. Classification: Harbinger-class battlecruiser. Designation: UES Dauntless." Silence fell across the monitoring chamber before it erupting into controlled chaos. Vexic's antennae twitched as he authorized an emergency broadcast to the Galactic Coalition's Central Command. The humans were on the move, and history had taught the Coalition that human warships never departed their territories without significant consequences. Aboard the UES Dauntless, Captain Morgan Riley stood with hands clasped behind her back, studying the tactical display. At 42, she carried the confidence of a decorated officer who had earned her command through merit rather than political connections. Her short-cropped silver hair and the scar running down her left temple were badges of experience earned in humanity's previous conflicts. "Status report," she demanded, her voice calm but authoritative. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, her executive officer, responded without looking up from his station. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've cleared the Arcturus checkpoint and are proceeding at standard interstellar velocity. Estimated arrival at Proxima Outpost in 47 hours. Riley nodded. The Dauntless, humanity's newest battlecruiser, represented Earth's commitment to protecting its expanding frontier. After the Orion incident 3 years prior, when a human research station had been destroyed with all hands lost, the United Earth government had accelerated its military shipbuilding program. "Captain," Communications Officer Park interrupted, "we're receiving an automated warning from a Coalition observation post. They're designating our course as a violation of Treaty Zone 16B. Riley's expression hardened. "Standard procedure. Acknowledge receipt but maintain course." The bridge crew exchanged knowing glances. Coalition species had always viewed human expansion with suspicion, despite centuries of peaceful coexistence. Their warnings were predictable, almost ritualistic at this point. "Tactical. Run a comprehensive scan of the approach vector to Proxima Outpost. If the Coalition is nervous about our movement, there might be something they don't want us to see." Lieutenant Y at the tactical station initiated the long-range scans. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures near Proxima Outpost. Multiple vessels in formation. None match known Coalition registry profiles." Riley leaned forward. "Detail. 7 vessels, Captain. Formation consistent with a blockade. They're positioned directly in our path to the research outpost." The atmosphere on the bridge tensed. Proxima Outpost was humanity's farthest research installation, dedicated to studying an unusual stellar phenomenon. With 87 scientists and support personnel, it represented one of humanity's most significant scientific investments. "Communications, hail the outpost," Riley ordered. After several tense moments, Park shook her head. "No response, Captain. I'm not even receiving the automated acknowledgement beacon." Riley's jaw tightened. "Senior staff to the tactical room. Immediately." In the Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Coalition, representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations gathered in emergency session. High Chancellor Jolak, a towering figure with iridescent scales and 4 articulated arms, called the session to order. "The humans have deployed the Dauntless beyond their recognized territories," he announced, his voice resonating through the chamber. "This vessel represents their most advanced weapons platform. We must determine an appropriate response." Ambassador Trell, representing the methane-breathing Vordarians, pulsed with bioluminescent agitation. The last time humans moved a capital ship of this classification, 3 Coalition outposts were reduced to debris fields. "That was different," countered Ambassador Shira of the crystalline Litharians. The humans were responding to the Orion terrorist attack. They had justification. Justification. Trell flashed angrily. They obliterated an entire asteroid mining colony because they suspected it harbored those responsible. High Chancellor Jolak raised his upper arms for silence. Regardless of past events, we must address the current situation. The Dauntless is approaching Proxima Outpost at combat velocity. Intelligence suggests they've lost contact with their research station. Ambassador Shira tilted her crystalline head. Have we confirmed why? An uncomfortable silence fell across the chamber before Jolak responded. Because Enforcement Fleet Tau 9 has established a quarantine around the human facility. The chamber erupted in confused debate. Ambassador Shira's crystalline form vibrated with alarm. On whose authority? The Coalition Council issued no such directive. Jolak's scales darkened, a sign of discomfort among his species. Admiral Kress authorized the quarantine based on intercepted data transmissions. The human facility has been experimenting with dimensional resonance technology. Ambassador Shira's voice cut through the rising clamor. Dimensional resonance. That technology is strictly prohibited under the Arcturus protocols. Precisely, Jolak confirmed. Admiral Kress believed immediate containment was necessary before the humans could weaponize their research. Back aboard the Dauntless, Captain Riley reviewed the tactical assessment with her senior staff. Dr. Eleanor Chen, the ship's chief science officer, pointed to the holographic representation of the blockading vessels. These energy signatures are consistent with Coalition Enforcement Fleet technology, specifically their Ta-class vessels. What's unusual is the radiation pattern. They're running at combat readiness. Commander Jackson frowned. Why would a Coalition fleet blockade a civilian research outpost without formal notification? Riley's fingers drummed against the tactical table. More importantly, why haven't they responded to our hails? Captain, Dr. Chen said hesitantly, I've been reviewing the outpost's last data transmission. They were studying unusual quantum fluctuations in the nearby star. Their research indicated potential applications for instantaneous communication across unlimited distances. Riley's eyes narrowed. Quantum entanglement communication. That's been theoretical for decades. Director Harmon's team believed they'd achieved a breakthrough, Chen explained. If they succeeded, it would eliminate the need for relay stations across colonized space. Communications would be instantaneous regardless of distance, and the Coalition would lose their control over the interstellar communication network. Riley concluded, the implications becoming clear. They've maintained that monopoly for centuries. The tactical officer spoke up. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Coalition vessel. The main screen activated to reveal a stern-faced alien with violet skin and prominent cranial ridges. Human vessel, this is Admiral Kress of Coalition Enforcement Fleet Tau 9. You have entered restricted space. Power down your weapon systems and prepare to be escorted back to your territory. Riley stood tall. Admiral Kress, I am Captain Morgan Riley of the UES Dauntless. We've lost contact with our research outpost in this sector. We are here to investigate and render assistance if necessary. Your research facility has been quarantined for violations of the Arcturus protocols regarding prohibited technologies, Kress replied. Under Coalition law, we are authorized to contain all personnel and research materials. Riley's expression remained neutral, though her eyes hardened. The Arcturus protocols govern weapons development. Admiral, our facility conducts communication research. Research that could be weaponized. Kress countered. We have monitored your experiments with dimensional resonance. Such technology has catastrophic military applications. Riley looked to Dr. Chen, who shook her head slightly, confirming the Admiral's claim wasn't entirely baseless. Quantum communication technology, if modified, could potentially disrupt the very fabric of space-time. Admiral, I propose a joint inspection team, Riley offered. Allow my science officer to accompany your personnel. We can verify the nature of the research together. Admiral Kress's features tightened. Unacceptable. The facility is under quarantine. You will withdraw your vessel immediately, or we will take action to enforce coalition security directives. After the transmission ended, Riley turned to her officers. Options. Commander Jackson spoke first. Their fleet has us outgunned 7-1. But not outclassed, Lieutenant Wei observed. The Dauntless's shields and weapon systems are generations ahead of their TOG-class vessels. Riley shook her head. I'm not starting an interstellar war over a misunderstanding. Dr. Chen, prepare a complete briefing on the outpost's research. We need to prove it poses no weapons threat. And if that fails? Jackson asked. Riley's expression grew grim. Then we remind the Coalition why human warships are respected across known space. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kress ended the transmission and turned to his aide. The humans aren't withdrawing. The aide, a slender being with translucent skin that revealed pulsing organs beneath, replied, as Administrator Nexus predicted. What are your orders? Kress stared at the tactical display showing the human battlecruiser. The vessel's sleek, predatory form seemed to embody humanity's reputation. Efficient, deadly, unpredictable. Maintain blockade formation. Power weapons but do not target. Let the humans understand our resolve without provoking them unnecessarily. The aide hesitated. And the transmission from the research facility. Should we inform Captain Riley that we received a distress call before implementing the quarantine? Admiral Kress's expression darkened. That information is classified by direct order of Administrator Nexus. The humans cannot know about the anomaly their scientists encountered. The consequences would be unpredictable. As both sides prepared for a potential confrontation, neither realized they were being observed by a third party. In the shadow of a nearby asteroid, a vessel of unfamiliar design maintained perfect stealth. Its occupant, hidden within an environment suit that concealed all identifying features, transmitted a brief message to an unknown destination. The pieces are in position. Both coalition and human forces have responded as predicted. Proceed with Phase 2. The standoff. 6 hours into the standoff, Captain Riley paced the bridge of the Dauntless, tension evident in every measured step. The coalition vessels maintained their blockade formation, weapons powered but not yet targeting the human battlecruiser. Any response to our latest transmission? Riley asked. Communications Officer Park shook her head. Nothing, Captain. They've acknowledged receipt but refused to engage in further dialogue. Dr. Chen approached with a data tablet. Captain, I've been analyzing the sensor readings from the outpost's vicinity. There's something unusual about the energy signatures we're detecting. Riley took the tablet, studying the complex waveforms. Explain. The coalition ships are generating a dampening field, standard procedure for a quarantine. Chen began. But there's an underlying resonance pattern that doesn't match known coalition technology. It's almost as if, she hesitated. As if what, Doctor? As if they're containing something, not just preventing communication. Chen concluded. These patterns resemble containment protocols for quantum unstable phenomena. Commander Jackson joined them, his expression grim. Captain, I've been reviewing our intelligence reports. 3 months ago, we received an unusual request from Director Harmon. He asked for specialized equipment designed to measure transdimensional fluctuations. Riley's eyes narrowed. That wasn't in the mission briefing. It was classified under Science Directorate protocols, Jackson explained. I only found it while searching for precedents for our current situation. Riley turned to the view screen, studying the coalition vessels with new understanding. They're not enforcing a quarantine because they're afraid of what our scientists might discover. They're containing something our scientists already found. The tactical officer interrupted. Captain, we're detecting a small vessel approaching from the far side of the research outpost. It's not coalition design. Identification. Riley demanded. Unknown, Captain. It's broadcasting on an old emergency frequency. Wait, I'm receiving a text-only message. It claims to be from Director Harmon. Riley straightened. On screen. The message appeared, text scrolling across the main display. to US Dauntless. Coalition DLOCKADE Noti What It CEMs Research Facility Compromised. Disqov or ED Ancient TCE Nevology. Third party manipulating both sides. Sending data packet. Truest no one. Harmon. Authentication codes. Riley demanded. The tactical officer nodded. They matched Director Harmon's personal identifiers. Communications. Notify the coalition vessels we've detected an unauthorized craft. Tactical. Prepare to receive the data packet but isolate it from main systems. As the officers carried out her orders, Riley turned to Dr. Chen. Ancient technology. Chen's expression was troubled. There have been rumors of artifacts left by a precursor civilization. Most scientists consider it fringe theory, but if Harmon found evidence... Captain, the tactical officer called out, the coalition vessels are moving to intercept the small craft. On the view screen, 2 coalition ships broke formation, accelerating toward the mysterious vessel. Without warning, they opened fire, energy beams lancing through space. Shields up, Riley ordered. Tactical. Target the coalition vessels firing on that craft. Warning shots only. The Dauntless's advanced targeting systems locked onto the coalition ships. Precision energy pulses flashed past their hulls, a demonstration of superior targeting capability without causing damage. Coalition vessels are breaking off pursuit, Tactical reported. The small craft is continuing on course toward us. Extend defensive shields to cover its approach, Riley commanded. Prepare Shuttle Bay 3 for emergency docking. Communications Officer Park looked up from her station. Captain, Admiral Kress is hailing us. He sounds agitated. On screen, Riley ordered. Admiral Kress appeared, his violet features contorted with rage. Captain Riley, you are interfering with a coalition security operation. That vessel contains dangerous contraband. Allow us to neutralize it immediately. The vessel claims to be operated by Director Harmon of our research facility, Riley countered. Under interstellar law, I am obligated to render assistance to a human citizen in distress. You don't understand the danger, Kress insisted. The occupant of that vessel has been exposed to technology that affects cognitive processes. They cannot be trusted. Riley's expression hardened. Then we'll take appropriate quarantine measures once they're aboard. Dauntless out. As the transmission ended, Commander Jackson approached. Captain, if that really is Director Harmon, and if he's been exposed to unknown technology, we'll take precautions, Riley assured him. Full isolation protocols in the shuttle bay. Dr. Chen will oversee the medical examination personally. 20 minutes later, Riley stood outside the isolation chamber, watching through transparent barriers as medical personnel attended to an elderly man with wild gray hair and haunted eyes. Dr. Chen approached, removing her protective gear. Is it Harmon? Riley asked. Chen nodded. DNA confirms it. His physical condition is stable, but his neurological readings are unusual. There's activity in brain regions typically dormant in humans. The coalition claims he's been affected by alien technology, Riley said. Could that explain it? Possibly, Chen admitted. But I don't think it's having a negative effect. His cognitive functions are enhanced, not degraded. It's as if, she searched for words, as if his brain has been optimized. What about the data he transmitted to us? Chen handed Riley a tablet. It's remarkable. Detailed scans of what appears to be an artificial structure buried beneath the surface of Proxima IV, near our research outpost. Carbon dating suggests it's over 3 million years old. Riley studied the images with growing concern. And the coalition knows about this. Not exactly, came a weak voice from the isolation chamber. Director Harmon had risen to a sitting position. The coalition doesn't know what it is, but Administrator Nexus does. Riley approached the barrier. Director Harmon, I'm Captain Riley. Can you explain what's happening? Harmon's eyes were feverishly bright. We found it 3 weeks ago, while testing our quantum resonance equipment. The technology created a feedback loop that revealed the structure. When we began excavation, we discovered it was some kind of communication node, ancient but still functional. A communication node? Chen asked. Connected to what? Everything, Harmon whispered. Everywhere. It's part of a network that spans the galaxy. No, beyond. When activated, it allows instantaneous communication and other applications we barely understand. Riley frowned. And the Coalition quarantined your facility because of this discovery. Harmon shook his head. Not the Coalition. Administrator Nexus. He arrived personally with a small security team, claimed jurisdiction under some obscure protocol. But he wasn't interested in containment. Harmon's voice dropped. He wanted to weaponize it. Weaponize a communication network? Riley asked. It's more than that, Harmon explained. The network doesn't just transmit data. It can transmit anything. Energy. Matter. When we realized what Nexus intended, we tried to contact Earth. That's when the quarantine was established. Commander Jackson, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. If what you're saying is true, why would Admiral Crest support this? Coalition policy strictly prohibits weaponizing ancient technology. Because Crest doesn't know, Harmon replied. Nexus convinced him our research had created a dangerous dimensional rift. The blockade is legitimate in Crest's mind. He believes he's containing a threat to the entire sector. Riley processed this information quickly. We need evidence to present to the Coalition Council, something that proves Nexus is acting independently. I managed to download portions of Nexus's personal logs before escaping, Harmon said. They're in the data packet I sent. Encrypted, but your systems should be able to decode them. As if on cue, the tactical officer's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we've completed analysis of the data packet. You need to see this immediately. Minutes later, Riley stared at the decoded transmissions on the main tactical display, their implications chilling. Administrator Nexus, one of the highest-ranking officials in the Coalition bureaucracy, had been systematically locating and studying ancient technology sites across the galaxy. More disturbing were his communications with an unknown group referred to only as the Directors. He's not acting for the Coalition, Commander Jackson observed. This is some kind of private operation. With access to Coalition resources, Riley added grimly. And now he has control of potentially the most powerful communication technology ever discovered. Dr. Chen pointed to another section of data. According to these readings, Nexus has already begun activating the node. That's what's causing the unusual energy signatures we detected. Riley made her decision. We need to contact Admiral Crest directly, without Nexus's knowledge. That won't be easy, Jackson cautioned. All communications would be monitored from his command center. Not all communications, Riley corrected, a plan forming. Dr. Chen, can you configure our quantum entanglement experimental system to match the frequency patterns Director Harmon recorded from the ancient node? Chen's eyes widened with understanding. Theoretically, yes. We could piggyback on the network Nexus is already activating. He wouldn't detect it because it would appear as part of his own signal. Do it, Riley ordered, and prepare a complete briefing package for Admiral Crest. Include everything we've learned about Nexus in operation. As preparations began, Lieutenant Wei approached with urgent news. Captain, we're detecting unusual movement from the Coalition fleet. 2 vessels are breaking formation, heading toward the research facility. On the tactical display, Riley watched as the situation developed. They're creating a gap in the blockade. Intentional. Unclear, Wei replied. Wait, I'm detecting energy buildups consistent with weapons charging, but they're not targeting us. They're targeting each other. Riley's expression hardened as understanding dawned. Nexus knows we've made contact with Harmon. He's creating a distraction. Tactical. Maintain alert status. Dr. Chen, how soon can you establish communication with Admiral Crest? 10 minutes, minimum, Chen replied. working feverishly at her station. "We may not have 10 minutes," Riley muttered, watching as the first shots were exchanged between coalition vessels. Jackson voiced the question on everyone's mind. What happens if Nexus fully activates the ancient node before we can expose him? Riley's response was grim. Then we might find ourselves facing a weapon capable of striking anywhere in the galaxy without warning, and humanity will be blamed for its discovery. Unlikely alliance. Captain Riley surveyed the tactical display with mounting concern. The situation had deteriorated rapidly. 2 coalition vessels exchanged fire, while the others maintained the blockade around Proxima Outpost. Admiral Cress's flagship remained at the center of the formation, seemingly uninvolved in the conflict. Analysis, Riley demanded. Lieutenant Way studied the sensor readings. The vessels in conflict are executing precision strikes, disabling weapons and propulsion systems without causing catastrophic damage. A controlled confrontation, Commander Jackson observed, designed to look like a legitimate internal dispute. "Captain," Dr. Chen called from her station, "quantum entanglement communication is online. We can transmit to Admiral Cress's personal command console without detection." Riley nodded. "Send the full data package. Tag it with Harmon's authentication codes and my personal command signature." As the transmission began, Director Harmon joined them on the bridge, having been cleared by medical. Though still weak, his eyes burned with intensity. "Captain, there's something else you need to know. Nexus isn't just weaponizing the communication node. He's attempting to access what the ancients called the control architecture." "Meaning?" Riley asked. "The node we discovered isn't isolated. It's part of a vast network that extends throughout the galaxy. The ancients built it to maintain something they called cosmic equilibrium. If Nexus gains control of even one node, he could potentially influence the entire network." Before Riley could respond, the tactical officer interrupted. "Captain, 3 coalition vessels are breaking away from the blockade. They're moving to surround us." On the main view screen, the ships repositioned with military precision, their weapon systems visibly charging. "Defensive posture," Riley ordered calmly. "Shields at maximum. Power weapons but hold fire." Communications Officer Park looked up from her station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Cress. Secure channel." Riley exchanged glances with Jackson. On screen, Admiral Cress appeared, his expression grave but controlled. "Captain Riley, I am contacting you directly because I believe we have both been manipulated. The data you transmitted, is it authenticated?" "Fully," Riley confirmed. "Director Harmon escaped from your quarantine to deliver it personally." Cress's features tightened. Administrator Nexus has exceeded his authority. The Coalition Council never authorized weapons research using ancient technology. I am hereby assuming direct command of all Coalition forces in this sector. "That may be problematic," Riley observed, gesturing to the tactical display, showing the 3 vessels encircling the Dauntless. "Not all your captains appear to be following standard chain of command." "Those vessels respond directly to Nexus," Cress admitted. "He placed his own security personnel in command positions, a violation of Coalition protocols I should have questioned earlier." "What's happening at the research facility?" Riley asked. "Nexus has established a secure perimeter. My sensors detect massive energy fluctuations consistent with the activation of technology far beyond our current understanding." Cress hesitated. "Captain Riley, despite our differences, I believe we now face a common threat." Riley nodded, decision made. "I propose a temporary alliance. Your remaining vessels combined with the Dauntless should be sufficient to neutralize Nexus's ships." "And afterward?" Cress asked. "We deal with Nexus together," Riley stated firmly, "as representatives of our respective governments." A hint of respect showed in Cress's eyes. "Agreed. Transmitting tactical coordination protocols now." As the transmission ended, Commander Jackson approached. "Captain, are you certain about this? Aligning with Coalition forces, is preferable to allowing a rogue administrator to acquire galaxy-spanning weapons technology. Riley finished. Tactical, integrate with coalition targeting systems. Communications, establish joint command frequency. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency as the Dauntless prepared for combat. Director Harmon studied the tactical display with concern. Even if we defeat Nexus's ships, the activation sequence has already begun, he warned. We have perhaps 30 minutes before the node reaches critical synchronization. Dr. Chen looked up from her analysis. If the process completes, could it be reversed? Harmon shook his head. Not from outside. Someone would need to access the central control chamber beneath the outpost. Riley considered this. Then we'll need to land a team. Dr. Chen, you'll accompany Director Harmon to the facility. Commander Jackson will lead the security detail. Jackson nodded. We'll need to move quickly once the blockade is neutralized. Captain, the tactical officer announced, Nexus's vessels are moving to attack formation. On the view screen, the 3 coalition ships aligned for maximum firing efficiency, a textbook maneuver against a single opponent. Simultaneously, Admiral Kress's loyal vessels began repositioning to engage from the opposite vector. All stations, battle readiness, Riley commanded. Initiate maneuver Theta 6 on my mark. The bridge crew acknowledged. Tension evident but controlled. The Dauntless had never engaged in actual combat, but its systems and crew had been tested in countless simulations. Incoming transmission from Nexus's lead vessel. Communications reported. The view screen activated to reveal a tall, distinguished alien with pale blue skin and elongated features. Unlike Kress's military bearing, Administrator Nexus projected bureaucratic authority. Captain Riley, he began without preamble. You are interfering in coalition security operations. Return Director Harmon to our custody immediately, or face the consequences. Riley met his gaze steadily. Administrator Nexus, we've reviewed Director Harmon's evidence. We know you're attempting to weaponize ancient technology without coalition authorization. A flicker of surprise crossed Nexus's features before his composure returned. Impressive deduction, Captain. However, it changes nothing. The humans discovered this technology. The humans will be blamed for its misuse. A regrettable incident that will justify stricter controls on your species' expansion. You've miscalculated, Riley replied. Admiral Kress has seen the evidence. The Coalition Council will know the truth. For the first time, uncertainty showed in Nexus's expression. Kress, impossible. All communications from this sector air. He stopped abruptly, understanding dawning. The quantum entanglement technology. You found a way to bypass our communications blockade. Riley allowed herself a small smile. Humanity has always been resourceful. Administrator. Nexus's features hardened. It no longer matters. The activation sequence is nearly complete. Soon, I will control technology beyond your comprehension. Not alone. You won't. Riley countered. Mark. The Dauntless executed a perfect combat role, its advanced propulsion systems allowing maneuverability that belied its size. As it rotated, its weapon systems came to bear on Nexus's vessels from an unexpected angle. Simultaneously, Admiral Kress's loyal ships launched their attack. Caught between two forces, Nexus's vessels struggled to adjust their defensive posture. Fire, Riley ordered calmly. The Dauntless's main energy cannons discharged with surgical precision, targeting propulsion and weapon systems rather than vital areas. 2 of Nexus's vessels immediately lost maneuverability, while the third suffered weapons failure. Admiral Kress's ships have neutralized the remaining vessel, Tactical reported. Minimal casualties, no catastrophic damage. Riley nodded approval. Communications, inform Admiral Kress we're proceeding with the ground mission. Launch the shuttle as soon as his forces secure a corridor to the facility. Within minutes, a heavily armed shuttle departed the Dauntless, carrying Commander Jackson, Dr. Chen, Director Harmon, and a security team. The coalition vessels provided cover as they approached the research outpost. On the surface, they encountered minimal resistance, Most of Nexus's security forces had been deployed to his ships, leaving only a token presence at the facility. "This way," Harmon directed, leading them through abandoned corridors to a newly excavated tunnel. The control chamber is 200 meters beneath the surface. As they descended, evidence of the ancients' advanced technology became increasingly apparent. The tunnel walls transitioned from rough excavation to perfectly smooth surfaces inscribed with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. "These are data conduits," Harmon explained, noticing Dr. Chen's fascination. "The entire structure functions as a single integrated system." They reached a massive chamber dominated by a central column of swirling energy. Surrounding it were control interfaces unlike any human or coalition design, seemingly composed of pure light and responding to proximity rather than physical contact. "Nexus has already initiated the final activation sequence," Harmon observed, studying the patterns within the energy column. "We have minutes at most." Dr. Chen moved to one of the interfaces. "How do we shut it down?" "We can't, not completely," Harmon admitted, "but we might be able to reconfigure its parameters." The ancients designed the system with multiple safeguards. As they worked, Commander Jackson established a secure perimeter, his team alert for any of Nexus's remaining forces. "Captain Riley reports Nexus has abandoned his command ship," he informed them. "They believe he's headed this way." Harmon nodded grimly. "He'll try to complete the synchronization personally. The system requires authentication during the final stage. Biological authentication." "Meaning what?" Jackson demanded. "The system scans neural patterns to verify the user's intentions," Harmon explained. "The ancients built this technology to benefit all species. It requires the user to demonstrate compatible ethical frameworks." Dr. Chen looked up from her interface, and Nexus expected to pass this authentication. "He found a way to bypass it," Harmon revealed, using modified coalition medical technology to mask his neural patterns. A commotion at the chamber entrance interrupted them. 2 security officers fell, struck by energy weapons. Administrator Nexus entered, flanked by armed guards. "Step away from the controls," he ordered, his voice eerily calm. "Your interference is futile. The synchronization is almost complete." Commander Jackson raised his weapon, but Nexus's guards already had their team targeted. "Lower your weapons," Jackson commanded his people, recognizing the tactical disadvantage. Nexus approached the central column, a device of unfamiliar design attached to his temple. "You misunderstand my intentions," he told them. "This technology offers control over the very fabric of space-time, not for destruction, but for order. Perfect, unwavering order." "Imposed by you," Harmon challenged. "By those qualified to direct galactic affairs," Nexus corrected. "Your species is too young, too impulsive to be trusted with such power." He reached toward the energy column, the light responding to his presence. As his fingers made contact, the entire chamber hummed with increasing power. "It's accepting his neural pattern," Harmon exclaimed. "The bypass is working." Dr. Chen studied her interface intensely. "Maybe not. Look at the harmonic patterns. They're fluctuating. The system is uncertain." Nexus's expression shifted from triumph to concern as the energy column's color changed from blue to amber. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Nothing," Harmon replied. "The system is detecting the conflict between your stated intentions and your actual neural patterns. The bypass isn't perfect." The column's energy began pulsing erratically, the chamber trembling in response. Nexus's guards looked around nervously as fragments of ancient material began falling from the ceiling. "The system is destabilizing," Dr. Chen warned. "If it collapses while partially synchronized, the energy release could devastate this entire region." Nexus frantically manipulated the interface, his composure shattered. "I can still complete the synchronization. I need more time." "There is no time," Harmon stated. "Only one option remains." Before anyone could stop him, he lunged forward, placing both hands directly into the energy column. The effect was immediate and stunning. The erratic pulsing stabilized, the amber light shifting to a calm green. Harmon's body arched as energy coursed through him, his eyes wide but somehow peaceful. "What's happening?" Jackson demanded. Dr. Chen checked her readings. The system is accepting him as the primary user. His neural patterns satisfy the authentication requirements. Nexus stared in disbelief. "Impossible. A human cannot." "Cannot what?" came a voice from the chamber entrance. Captain Riley stood there, accompanied by Admiral Kress and a contingent of coalition officers. "Cannot prioritize the common good over personal power." As Nexus's guards surrendered, the administrator himself seemed to collapse inward.